I share a ton of ideas and content about how you can show up to your audience, overcome some of the challenges from your marketing, how you can stand out and how you can turn your messaging into something that actually does some magical stuff for you, right? So yesterday we had an amazing guest on, Jude Charles. I am a big fan of him. So when he was able to come on, it was like, yes, we can do this. And we continued the conversation offline, and it was really interesting because a lot of our life experiences have in many ways hit some interesting parallels, and we are in alignment on some interesting things. So I want to, in many ways, continue that conversation with just myself. So it always gets weird trying to have a conversation with myself because sometimes I respond and that gets strange. So what I really want to talk about, though, is visibility, and specifically the reach visibility trajectory, which is my framework. And it's a flexible approach to assembling the building blocks that you need to really spread your message out into the world. So what is it? The reach visibility trajectory starts with, researching your market, making sure that you absolutely know the pain points that people are experiencing, and do your best here, right? The information that we get will change. What we're doing will get more and more refined, but have a feeling for what people are experiencing before they come to you and what that means after they leave. Figure out, what problems they have that they may not even know about, but that you can solve for them, right? There's some really interesting aspects to that. And there's a ton of people who do a lot of this really well. And I have lots and lots of information and printables that people can access with what these things are. So that's thing one, research your market. Thing two is engage with brand voice. And what this means is before you put a whole lot of effort into putting content out there, it doesn't mean that you can't put content out there, but it means you need to be ready to refine it and pivot if the brand voice dictates it. So you take that research and then you think of what you want your business to look like. What do you want? What do you want to do for people? How do you want to make people feel? What legacy do you want to leave? What impact do you want that to be? Do some thinking and put all of those pieces together, because once you have that, you can start to say, okay, this is the kind of company I want. This is who I want to be in this world. These are the steps I need to take to put myself out there in this way. And so there's a lot more, obviously, that goes into brand voice and brand positioning, but that's what you want to do. So the first step is knowing your audience. The second step is figuring out how their needs and your needs kind of dovetail and create this Venn diagram. Third step is attract your audience online. This typically means, at least in the framework of working with me, this is going to be website copy. This is going to be making sure that steps 1 and step 2, research and brand voice, build on each other into website copy that's impactful, that messaging that speaks on a deep, deep level to your audience, so they can look at it in 2 to 3 seconds and say, this is really interesting. I want to read more. And then as they're reading, it's like, yes, this is me. This is entirely what I want. And it's like, cool. This is exciting, right? So that's phase 3, or attract. So REA. So these things build on each other, right? All of this information builds on each other. These are your foundational building blocks. And it keeps coming back to these 3 elements. So you may find, the visual of the trajectory is like step 1, step 2, step 3. As you get these closer and closer to where you want them to be, you're going to see things start to happen, right? You're going to see things clicking because you are in alignment. And that was something that Jude talked about a lot yesterday, was getting in alignment. So if we have these building, you may find periodically, even as you get into the C and the H part, and we'll talk about that in just a second, that you are pivoting, you're refining what you do, the market is shifting, something major happens in the world, or in life, or your life, or whatever. So you may, or maybe it's your customers' lives, maybe it's a new way that you can impact them. So it may mean that you need to hop back down to do research to re-engage it, and then you can kind of re-loop. And you can always be, this is a process that you can always be refining. What's working, what's not, How can I test this? How can I adjust this? Right? Okay. Another of those life changes or big things might be growing your staff. So a client of mine just added 2 new positions. Like she literally hired for them last week. They start in a couple of days. And what that means is that her services can grow and change. She can make some shifts in how she's running her business. So we're going back through to make sure that there's still these fits and these alignments. Okay, so those are the first 3 steps. Step 4 is create an online funnel. So, unpopular opinion, your business is a funnel, whether you think it is or not. I have a client who I love dearly, who periodically says, this business just isn't right for a funnel. And it's like, but it is, because literally the process is you have all these people out here, you kind of get closer and closer and closer in. And these are the people like in this section that buy from you, right? And if they fall out of the funnel, they can still come back in this flywheel, but it's a funnel. Whether or not it's automated is the thing. And obviously automation makes your life easier. Is mine fully automated? Absolutely not. But I was just talking with a client last week, 2 clients last week, and a friend last night about how we can create a system around lead gen and lead follow-up. And so if you can do that in a way, whether it's with a lead magnet and a nurture sequence, whether it's with a follow-up sequence after the call, after the book, whether it's with an onboarding sequence to make sure that you're managing expectations, managing the project, doing all the things right, or maybe it's an offboarding sequence, which you can actually use for more lead gen, right? And there's a number of ways that you can do that. And I'm not going to get into the 4 systems you need now. I'm working on a presentation that I'm going to be giving in late April on that. So that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really interesting because I'm going to create some examples and some swipes of what this actually looks like. So stay tuned. We're going to talk more about that in a little bit. What, however, is the C stage looking like? It means doing a deep dive into all the things that you do for clients. And I want to give you an example. I am a big fan of, first of all, I'm a big fan of lead magnets and gating content so that you can get email addresses. Because how can you follow up with someone if you're not getting their email information, right? So create insane value. Throw something out there that answers some of the most common questions you answer. This is valuable for people because they want this information. Maybe you're teaching them your strategy. I've got a couple of lead magnets available. One is going to be the case study where I helped this client add these two staff members to her team, grow her monthly revenue by over 5 figures, and adding these 6 figures of annual income to her business so that she can add these staff members. And so that's growing and growing and growing and growing. So we want to do more and more and more of that. I have another one that's 30 quick fixes that you can start making right now for your website copy. And it teaches you, it goes into the reach visibility trajectory. It goes into the steps that you need to go through. And it goes into like the 10 big things that I look at when I'm auditing people's website copy to say, yes, this is right. Maybe this could be a little bit better, or hey, maybe you should think about revamping this section entirely. And it gives 30 quick wins that you can make for yourself or that you can make with someone. Gives you that starting point, right? Because knowing where to start is one of the hardest things. It's much easier to just keep going and doing what you're doing now rather than trying to dive in and do the deep work, whatever that deep work is, right? Sometimes it's really emotional. Sometimes it's really, really hard to dig in and figure out what's going well and what's not. And sometimes we're in our place to do it and sometimes we're not. And as I was talking to my Womp Womp students last night, some of them were like, I'm a little bit behind. I'm really stressed. And I was like, you know what? You have permission to be where you are. We give you the information so that you can do it quickly if you have that time. Or we also give you more time and more time, me, myself, and I, more time together to massage this into something that you're really proud of, right? That is what we do. If you can dive in and do it all, great. If you need to chew on it some more, also fine. Not a big deal whatsoever. So with that in mind, I've kind of been all over the place, but these things that I offer to people, these checklists, these things, it's called gated content, and I want to know who's downloading. I want to know who's interested in this. I want to know who needs help refining their USP to the point that they're like, yeah, I like this. Let's move forward, right? Because once you have that, all other things come from it. So, um, there's so much I want to talk to you about and keep getting off track because this create an online funnel is really about that. It's about figuring out not just how you want to build your audience, but how you want to really build an audience of engaged people who can become your super fans, who can look forward to every email that you send out because there's something in there that's this awesome nugget of awesomeness. Okay, cool. Awesome nugget of awesomeness. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I have not yet opened my coffee, meaning that I've opened my coffee to pour it in and add some salted caramel bourbon cream to it that I made at a class with my mom a couple weeks ago. So what does this C look like? A lot of times it's a lead magnet and a nurture sequence. A lot of times it's putting into place some of these follow-up systems. And let me give you an example. My best friend is one of my clients. She has a hot tub company, and we discovered that her team was doing an amazing job at follow-up within the first 90 days. They were killing it in sales. They were doing amazing, amazing things. But what happened is after that 90-day period, people sort of started to fall off, and it was much harder to re-engage them. And what we thought was going out in terms of engagement, in terms of these follow-ups, was actually not happening to the level that we thought it was. So the subject line in some of these emails that went out was her company name. And it was just, her emails weren't bad. They were reasonable emails, but we wanted to level them up and ask some more open-ended questions and create these little blurbs that will really get people talking, right? Open-ended questions that start conversations, because that's the best way to re-engage someone, is to get them talking about their self, what questions they have. It's conversation and networking 101, right? If you can get someone else talking, that is the easiest part about having a conversation, because then you can respond and you can help and you can really show how you can step in and serve as their guide. So, that's part of this creating an online funnel that I need to be talking more about, because I think it's really, really, really valuable. So, okay, that's step 4. Are you noticing that as we do these, they're getting meatier and meatier and meatier and more involved? And that's exactly as it should be. As you put more effort into it, so too will your sales increase. So you need to have a method for tracking those. And admittedly, this is an area that I need to be doing better in my own business. So I'm going to be opening this up and doing this in public so you can see the process. You can see some of these changes. The last stage is H, and it's hook them with tactical strategy. So it requires more work again. So we look back at the research, we look back at the brand voice, we look back at the website copy. We look a little bit at this funnel, but really the goal of the hook is to get people flowing into the funnel. So this is the 90-day content strategy. It is the 6-month content strategy. It is setting your goals for the next year. So we look at the top, pick 3 to 5 things that you really want to accomplish. And we want to look at big picture, like next year, and then we want to drill that down. Okay, how can we impact that on a quarter by quarter basis? And sometimes this is really formal and sometimes it's not. Sometimes life happens. Like my client has been extremely busy, the one who I'm writing the case study on. So the last 3 months have all been about keeping what's currently going turned on and flowing so that there's some stuff happening. She's moving into a more active engagement period right now. So we are going to be hitting it much, much harder with some of the content and some of the goals, because she's in a position where she can actually make some of those goals happen. She's in a position where she can do the follow-up, where she can spend time on the phone, where she can do some of this onboarding. So what does that look like? It means setting these goals. Okay, what actions can you take that will move these forward? How can you get in front of people? Usually it's with some kind of content, right? Not always, but usually. And so that's usually some kind of video, some kind of audio, or something in writing. So generally speaking, it boils down to blog, video, or audio content. There, you can absolutely leverage it across all of them. The thing is, if you're showing up and you're creating all of this content, you don't need to make it all be different, all be groundbreaking, all be new. That's exhausting, and it's not an effective use of your time, because how many times do people need to see something and hear something and see your face before they can do it, right? How many times can that happen? It's like 7, and it may be even more now. I mean, gosh, I've been seeing Blue Land soap in my Facebook ads for over a year, and I still haven't pulled the trigger, but I'm engaged and very interested. So know this, even people are watching. People are watching what you're doing, and it will make an impact at some point in time. So usually my 90-day strategies look like, here's one kind of content that we're going to focus on creating at regular intervals. How often can you reasonably do that? How often can I reasonably help you create this content? I can't create your audio or your video for you, but I can create your written for you. I can script some of your audio or video so that you are creating these sound bites. Then we leverage the heck out of that across email, across blog. Yeah, even if it's audio, we can still post it on the blog to create a catalog. If you're showing up in guest appearances, we can do that as well. Okay. And then we also translate it into social media. In these last 20 minutes or so that I've been speaking, I probably am giving you roughly a 30 days of social media content, or of blog, or of audio content that we can be really, really pushing in on to spell out. And I show up here 3 times a week. So there's an amazing amount of content with value that I can be giving out. So we talk about the content strategy. We talk about how we're going to get in front of people. Maybe there's some SEO involved, maybe not. It really depends on you, your audience, and where you're showing up and how. So I hope that this has been helpful. This is the reach visibility trajectory. I am going to pop a link here, and I'll pop it in the comments as well as in the main post here, so that you can grab this case study if you're truly interested in seeing how I do it, whether you're interested in learning from me, whether you're interested in tackling it on your own, right? If you want to if you want to DIY it, if you want to learn from me, or if you simply are interested in working with me and want to know what that could look like, right? So I really hope to continue the conversation. Do let me know of questions along the way. Tag me, drop into my DMs, whatever that looks like. And I hope that you have an absolutely, positively amazing weekend. Drink green beer if that's your thing. Otherwise, for me, it's going to be Irish coffee all day. My kids are out for spring break next week, but I am still planning to be here. So have a wonderful week, and I will talk with you soon.